Hi, good evening. You're watching The Big Picture. I'm Ishan and tonight on The Big Picture, we decided to focus on a matter that's of critical importance. A matter that is before the highest court in this country, that of Aadhaar cards, its use, implementation, and the ramifications that has had is certainly huge. In fact, the Supreme Court itself is now contemplating. The Chief Justice of India will give a verdict as to what kind of a bench should it be referred to, a constitution bench, how many members, how many judges should it have. All that and more is being contemplated, but the ramifications, as I said, of Aadhaar card and its implementation certainly is huge. It affects you and me. So we've decided to talk about it, and we have a series of experts who've come in. Satya Prakash, legal editor at Hindustan Times, is over here with us. Usha, Ramanathan, independent law researcher, human rights activist, somebody who's worked very actively as far as privacy and not just privacy, but Aadhaar itself is concerned. She'll be talking to us as well. R.P. Singh is here. He's the National Secretary with the BJP, and KTS Tulsi, senior advocate, Supreme Court and Rajya Sabha MP, is also here with us. Satya, I'll start with you. Just to put it into perspective, the matter that is before the Supreme Court, just for the lay person, just put it out for us as to why is it that important, the implications that what is the matter before the Supreme Court has?
Well, the Aadhaar entire scheme was challenged before the Supreme Court basically on the ground that it violates right to privacy of individuals.
Right.
Right to privacy has been interpreted by Supreme Court in various judgments as being part of Article 21, that is right to life and liberty. And you cannot take away somebody's right to life or liberty except in accordance with procedure established by law. The real problem with Aadhaar is that the government is collecting biometric details of individuals without there being any authorization by a law. And that is the real challenge.
Okay.
And the Supreme Court has issued the larger issue of right to privacy to a constitution bench. Today, the Attorney General requested the CJI that since the government is very serious about Aadhaar, and yesterday the Supreme Court refused to, to relax the use of Aadhaar for other schemes.
Right.
Because on August 11, the court said it can be used only for PDS scheme and LPG subsidy and nothing else. So the government is worried that its entire scheme, Digital India and so many other things, which the government is to depend on Aadhaar, cannot take off without the Supreme Court lifting the ban.
All right, the span is thrown in the works.
But the real problem is, unless there is a law, it's difficult to, for this project to take off.
All right, KTS Tulsi, very quickly to you too, from a legal perspective. I mean, as far as the matter is concerned of the Aadhaar card, the Supreme Court, of course, will be deciding as far as the composition of the bench is concerned, how many judges will the Honourable Court be providing for this. But in terms of the challenge before it, in terms of the decision and its ramifications, if you could just put that into context for us.
You see, I believe that the right to life, I have too much echo. Privacy is an integral part of the right to life.
Right.
And there can be no questions about it. This liberty is so fundamental that no one, so long as I'm a law-abiding citizen, I have violated no law, I have a right to be left alone.
Okay.
You can't. This Aadhaar card is also my property. I may use it, I may not use it. If I use it, it will be used only for that purpose. But that doesn't mean that you can invade my privacy and take down my biometric details for various purposes which are not authorized by me. I have a right to live in my house undisturbed. My house is my castle. And no one, if I have not violated a law, no one has the right to force entry into my house. And similarly, this right of being left alone is also an integral part and arises out of the right to life. I believe that any invasion of privacy will be ultimately denial of the right to life in all its manifestations.
All right.
So therefore, I entirely agree with Supreme Court that this is just not going to be permissible. You can have the crime data and the data of criminals, those who have been convicted, But that doesn't mean that you will now invade every citizen's privacy. Those who have done no wrong, who are accused of nothing, how can you then take down their data and put it to various unauthorized purposes?
All right.
So I think that this needs a larger debate,
It
and the
certainly
Supreme
does,
Court
and that
will
is-
ultimately have the last say on the matter.
Absolutely. We're waiting for what the court has to say. But Usha, but it's not just about the right to privacy, as we were talking before the show started. You say it's a larger problem with Aadhaar itself. And RP, then I'll come to you because I'm sure you have the reasons why the government wants to implement it on such a war footing.
Before I go to the rest, I just want to say this one thing on privacy. Maybe the most damaging argument that has been made in relation to privacy was made in the court day before yesterday, when one of the counsel stood up and told the court that if the poor want, the poor want to give up their privacy through voluntarily getting onto an Aadhaar system so that they can get pension with ease. And, he cited a widow who had come to him and said that, I have enrolled and therefore I am willing to give up my fundamental rights. What was being said in court was that the poor people can choose to abandon their fundamental rights because they are getting something in return for having given up the fundamental rights. I must confess it broke my heart hearing it, because that same generation of lawyers are the ones who have grown through these years and built up a jurisprudence where everybody in the country has fundamental rights.
Right.
You don't have to give up your fundamental rights to get something else
Other
that is
than
your
impinging
entitlement.
upon fundamental rights, the other problems with
But
Aadhaar.
apart from that, the project itself, right from the word go, when we started studying the project, initially we all thought it was just about giving the poor an identity. We didn't see a huge problem with that. When we started studying the project, we found that, and this is an admitted position, that convergence of all kinds of databases, that is one of the fundamental purposes of Aadhaar, which means that you're going to have, surveillance becomes extremely easy. And by embedding this number in every database, converging data about people becomes extremely simple. So convergence and surveillance was one huge issue. And I think after Snowden and after seeing what, the US has been saying all along, that for the NSA, their project is only to protect Americans, not others. And we've been saying national security is an issue because you look at the companies that are involved and you look at the kind of clauses that there are in the contract with those companies, you'll be astounded. So it shocks me that people are not looking at many of these things.
All right, so you're saying the devil lies in the details of what we are promising as far as Aadhaar.
It doesn't even require too much detail. You just have to read it and you can see it.
All right, but RP Singh, the government's pushing for it. Prime Minister Modi came back from the United States, chaired a meeting and said by December, most of India should be under the Aadhaar scheme. But the Supreme Court obviously has some reservations about it and will be deciding about it. But as far as the government's plans are concerned, why is it so important? It's not even your own pet project in that sense. It was the UPA's.
First, Mr. KTS Tulsi probably over last few months have changed his stand now. Probably earlier he has some other stand, but not getting into that. But the issue is that is the Aadhaar card issue, what Supreme Court is saying is for Aadhaar card is different, and what Supreme Court is saying is the privacy thing. So the privacy thing will be settled down and probably it will go to a bigger bench. But let's come to, doesn't India need a bigger system for national security at least? The sort of onslaught we are facing from other countries and other radical groups. That's the basic.
No, but can the right of an individual then be compromised?
I'll come on that. How do you impinge on the right of individual also? Just taking biometric doesn't take the right of the individual also. that way, even the voter ID card takes away the right. There are many other things which takes away the right of the individual. We have a lot of details. Even when you get into the other details, when you go to the bank and all, a lot of details are already go there.
Okay.
But issue is not that. Issue is bigger than that. And today, don't we need a single system, single UD system, single court system for the country for each individual, so that it is easy for a person to deal with the system. You need anything with the government, or government need to reach out to you, or you need to do anything in the system.
All right, so as is the buzzword often with the present-day government, one window clearance, and Aadhaar promises that, KTS Tulsi. It was at one point in time, as RP Singh is saying, one window clearance. I'm saying that. But in terms of what the UPA wanted with it, it's not just about political party right now. It's about the idea of Aadhaar itself. And do you support that it should be necessary, or a single identity is essential for all Indians?
No, I have no problem with single identity. My problem is that you cannot then use it to the disadvantage of the citizen.
Accept it.
This is his property. He may choose to use it, he may choose not to use it. But that doesn't mean that it will be put to all kinds of unauthorized use, something which is beyond his comprehension. He never bargained for this, that this will be used. You see, Supreme Court has wrestled with this idea for the last quarter of a century. The telephone and the right to be able to speak in confidence with somebody was held to be a part of the fundamental right. Right of privacy. Right of privacy includes right to life, or life includes right to privacy.
Right.
Now, privacy can't be taken away under all circumstances. If I may quote only from one of the greatest lawyers during the American independence, Patrick Henry, he says, "Give me liberty or give me death." If people are not going to have liberty, if we are going to surrender, we are going to be made to surrender our liberty, I can tell you this Constitution's core value will stand negated. And if we lose our liberty, God alone knows in how many centuries we will get it back and whether we will ever get it back.
All right.
We got this liberty and freedom
liberty, Satya?
after a great amount of struggle.
Is it just about
after centuries of subjugation?
All right, I want to get Satya Prakash as well.
Yeah, there is a question of right to privacy, and the real problem with Aadhaar scheme is there is no law authorizing the government to collect these biometric details. There should be, the law should authorize the government to collect these data. The law should have provisions in case this data is misused. Then what is the punishment and what is the recourse the person aggrieved has before the law? Because you are collecting it through an executive order.
Right.
That is not the way the country functions. We have a rule of law, we have a constitution. Unless you follow that, and Supreme Court, that is the reason the Supreme Court said no. I am surprised the Supreme Court gave this much concession to the government to use it for PDS or LPG subsidy. Had I been the judge, I would have refused that even that. Because without having a law, how can you collect these data? Because
RP Singh, isn't that the problem? That there is no law. What is the redressal mechanism an ordinary citizen has? You're saying that the system, this is how the ordinary citizen accesses the system. But in case the system is flawed, how does he get redressal if there's no law?
The issue is different then. I mean, issue is not against the card. Issue is that there has to be some system for it. And the government is committing for that it won't be misused at all. I mean, it won't be misused and it will only use for...
No, but the government's commitment does not become legally binding.
Give me a minute. And it will be used only for certain objective. It's not to be, it can be given to anyone else. And they're defining the objectives also, what objective it will use for. So, and I accept that if there is some amendment need to be done in law and constitution, it should be done. But I am for it that, yes, we need a Aadhaar card system or we need a unique identification system in countries that's very compulsory for us.
Usha?
Yeah, see, actually, I just want to say two things. One is that, first of all, in this project, it is dependent on biometrics.
Right.
And we've been saying that this is an experiment on a whole population. So far, we were saying it, those who have been studying the project. Now, the UIDAI itself is saying it. It's after the August 11th order. On 13th, they uploaded what they've been using for some time. They have the system called they have a center called the Unique Biometrics Competence Center.
Okay.
And they are trying to now research, and this is their own language. They say they're researching biometrics in this country because the nature and condition of the working population of this country poses challenges to biometrics. 6 years after this, I mean, I don't know how many people are going to get conned by this. Is your whole government going to stay conned by this? I don't know. That's one. And the other thing is, I know it was your language to say window, single window. This is in fact the problem. This is not about giving some information to bank, some information to some other agency. This is about using the number to put it in every database so that it can all come through one window, which is what the NAT grid, for instance, is for. It will be able to get real-time information about us because multiple databases. Now today, if you go to they say that if you want an appointment in a government hospital, you give your Aadhaar number and get the appointment through the net. Same thing with getting an appointment with a government officer or with anybody in the administration. So this idea of having this
But isn't that more transparency? I mean, RP would argue that that's more
but we've been talking all along about transparency of the state, not about us being totally visible to a state. There's a huge difference. The state is limited by the constitution in how it can act in relation to its citizens. we are protected from the state.
All right, over here, we are certainly in a grey
I have
area.
a smart point there. How do state plan for you if you don't have, if you the state doesn't have the detail? How do state even plan for the complete thing? I mean,
All right.
today there's a lot of multiplicity. I mean,
All right, and that's the fact that the leakages in, for example, PDS, LPG, other subsidy schemes have forced such a. I mean, that's the arguments that are being given.
Here, it's not about UPA or NDA. This is about Indian state. The state by nature is intrusive. They would like to have every kind of control over citizens and system, everything. I don't have any problem with they using Aadhaar for certain purposes.
Right.
But using Aadhaar for every damn thing, it's bad. And as Mr. Tulsi said, the options should be with citizens, that whether they want to use Aadhaar for certain things or not. It cannot be, or it should not be, that once Aadhaar number is there, the government is using it everywhere without taking consent of the person concerned.
All right.
That should not be the case.
Is that something?
Aadhaar, the need, yes, it can be used for certain purposes, not for all purposes, but the citizens should have the right to use it or authorize the government for certain.
And that is not being coming clear in the arguments of the government, from what I believe.
In case it is
100%
misused,
accepted.
there should be some
accepted,
redressal
100%
mechanism.
accepted. Any benefit, it's only to be any benefit which has to come to the government. I mean, obviously, government need to plan how much.
All right,
how much,
so then why is the, then I would say that the Prime Minister is saying that he's given a December deadline for completion of most of the people enrollment under Aadhaar. So then that target is not met, and I mean, just in terms of planning, then doesn't that create a question mark about the entire concepts as far as
we'll wait for the Supreme Court final order and how the things go ahead, and then government will take a call on that. But issue is, I strongly feel that keeping the world scenario, keeping the security concerns, keeping how the money has to be transferred to individuals and people also, how things how government schemes has to go. I mean, there's no harm if there's a unique ID system, so that there can be proper planning to be done. Well, nothing wrong in it.
All right, Usha, quickly before
I think we need to remember that this is not a unique card that is being given to us. It is a number which is supposed to be attached to a biometric which is failing. So it's just a number. And it's a way through which you can see us through every database. And for us not to be able to see, in fact, this is reducing transparency in the other direction. So it's completely, from the 73rd and 74th Amendment where you said decentralization, to the way PDS changed between 2005 and 2009, where people got some control over what was happening, including in places like Chhattisgarh and Tamil Nadu. Now you say that we are kind of individualizing each one of you, and we will decide which one of you we will reach and how, and only through the Aadhaar number.
Okay.
So this has caused exclusion. It has caused compulsion and coercion. It has, and you've completely, it's not, like I was saying, it was not only a breach of the not having a law, it is a systematic breach of a Supreme Court order which tells me that this government, like the earlier government, has no respect for the rule of law. Why would we trust a government which will not respect the laws that are being made in this country?
All right, so the lack of a law certainly is bothersome as far as this is concerned, and that is what the Supreme Court will be deliberating. But KTS Tulsi, coming to the larger point of what RP Singh has been alluding to also about the larger idea of national security, and we live in a scenario that, I mean, other governments have done such things. For example, France, after the Charlie Hebdo attacks, passed laws on surveillance. So in the sense of the larger mindset that we are dealing with as far as getting this information and how to utilize it is concerned, it certainly then leaves the question mark, doesn't it?
You see, Supreme Court laid down a format that interception of telephone will be permitted by a certain authority in the center as well as the states. Then there is a review committee, and review committee is headed by chief secretary, etc. The point is, there must be some authorization for interception of telephone. Now that was recognition of privacy.
All right.
So to say that biometric card has been given or biometric number has been given to you, and now you have bargained your freedom and your liberty, that you will be constantly under surveillance, that is not the idea.
All right.
This is a facility given to a citizen to be able to claim his benefit. And he can claim the benefit. He doesn't want to claim. He wants an appointment in the hospital. He'll produce the card All
right, Satya, I want to get in
because it has to be on his will.
All right, on the citizens' bill, Satya, as far as what I was reading was also concerned, that a lot of government initiatives, for example, Digital India, now in terms of what it actually entails is not very clear, and what the Supreme Court is deliberating upon could also ask the government to really clarify on the Digital India initiative and the fact that the kind of information it be sharing with partners such as Facebook and Google.
Well, that's a different case pending with this Delhi High Court. What kind of agreement or understanding they have with Facebook and Google. So far as this case is concerned, the court is not going to ask about Digital India or anything. Okay. Court has referred the larger issue to a constitution bench. So once by tomorrow we'll know what kind of bench it is going to be, 9 judges, 7 judges, or whatever the composition of the bench is. The judges will primarily and or rather singularly, they will look into the issue of right to privacy and they will decide whether this scheme violates right to privacy or not. And in the first place, they will also rule whether right to privacy is part of Article 21 or not. Right. There is no ambiguity so far as I am concerned. But since Attorney General said right to privacy is not a part of Article 21, right to life and liberty, so the court will examine it, and I am sure they will rule that right to privacy is included in Article 21.
All right.
And further, they will say to the government that please have a law and then collect this biometric.
All right, Usha, you've been shaking your head.
Yeah, that's because, first of all, I mean, I understand privacy is an issue, but there are multiple other issues, like I was saying. Okay. It's just that the moment privacy got argued, it got referred to the larger bench. But actually, there are multiple other issues. And honestly, I don't know whether to laugh or cry when people say national security is going to be enhanced by this project. You have L1 identity solution, Morpho, these companies which are directly linked with the CIA, with the French government, and we actually think by handing over our data to them, and then they say, UIDAI says, no, we have systems by which we deal with it. In the court, they've said that even letting us know what the big document is will be a threat to national security. And you're telling us that this project where we are handing over all our data to these companies is going to secure us.
All right.
That's one. And the one thing I must say, the only official report that has come out, only official study that has come out so far is the Andhra Telangana study, which shows exclusion because of Aadhaar. Okay. It does not show reaching of benefits because of Aadhaar.
All right. So
and we are really not respecting the poor when we keep shooting from their shoulder.
Okay, RP Singh, final word. As far as the government is concerned, just make the stand clear. I mean, in terms of what KTS Tulsi is saying, that individual will have the option of whether Aadhaar is optional or not. Ultimately, it comes down to that, and that is not what the government really wants at this stage, does it?
Let me say, Usha is to be very alarmist. I mean, it's not that way. I mean, the way she is projecting it.
Demonstrated to you,
let me allow me to. I mean, you said something like that. So that's your point of view. I feel you're too alarmist on it. Yeah. And secondly, wherever there need to be things can be rectified also. And yes, if you don't want to take benefits of the state on certain issues and subjects, and you want to part of it, you can. I mean, probably the court will decide on that way what has been done on that. But tomorrow you can't say that I'm not getting this part of the benefit of the government or the state because leave me out and give me benefits also. Probably that will be difficult then.
All right, but is that a valid argument, KTS Tulsi, that if you do not opt for it, then you should not even get the benefit?
No. You can't deny this. He is entitled. It's not charity that the government is doing to the citizen. It's his right. There is a law which confers a certain benefit, and he will claim. If he doesn't claim, that doesn't mean that all other benefits will go.
All right.
The citizen has a large bouquet of rights. He may exercise 1, he may exercise 10, and he may exercise 20. So you can't compel the citizen and treat him like dirt. This is not the way we respect the individual freedom of a citizen, howsoever poor he may be.
All right, on that note, I think we'll have to wrap it up.
The government must use their right in a manner in which they don't trample upon the rights of the citizen.
But how do government reach out to the
citizens who's the ultimate...
No, in terms of ultimately...
How do government identify and reach out to the person? Whom to reach out to them?
I'm sorry, there are 100 other ways. In fact, let's have, I think we need a discussion on that
I think we
sometime.
would
We
need
can-
to,
we
after
can-
what the
Yeah, we
Supreme
do.
Court decides tomorrow, says tomorrow. This is a subject
apart
that is
from
of
this,
extreme importance to all of us. I just want to, make our viewers realize the importance of this particular issue, because it will really govern a lot that happens in the coming days, especially with technology increasing, especially with how much the state can control our lives, what it can tell us to do, what it can't tell us to do, what we can opt for. Ultimately, all that will be decided once the Supreme Court clears the air on this. But thank you very much, all of you, for coming in. Satya, Prakash, Usha, Ramanathan, RP Singh and KTS Tulsi. Thanks so much for that. On that note, we'll have to wrap it up. We'll be back with another edition of Big Picture tomorrow. Do stay tuned.